Oh, welcome. What fun, guys. Every Friday, it's always something new to try and get the show running properly, I tell you. Stephen, hello.
Hello.
Hopefully the people out there can hear us as well, because, man, what fun.
All kinds of fun. All kinds of it. So, happy Friday, TGIF.
Yeah, thank TGIF. And looks like my Sev 1 just ended at work, so that's perfect timing. People don't know. We're trying to set this up. We have Wolfanoz on here as well. Hopefully he's here. Actually, I think Stephen may have just gotten dropped. My Skype has been acting really weird today. See if I can add them back again. So let's rejoin this call again.
Is it?
There we go. You guys are back again. Are you there?
Yep. Technical difficulties.
It's always technical difficulties.
Is green too, by the way.
It is. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, bang. So the one thing about kicking it old school is all my equipment, like is me, ancient, and we have all these kinds of problems here. But we have a lot of people in the chat.
I know about the equipment. Don't blame the equipment, Glenn.
Okay, it could be partially the user, but in my defense, I just had a Sev 1 emergency call for the past like 2.5 hours at work, so that just ended. And we have everyone in the chat here. I'm trying to catch up with everyone in their chat. So first, thanks everyone in the chat. We have Stephen here again for Kicking It Old School here on Fridays, and we have Wolfanoz. If he's there, you say hi, Wolf.
Everybody.
We have at least his voice anyway. We got his voice. All right. So the plan originally was to have all three of us on here at the same time, and did all my testing, and of course everything worked until we actually went to go live. Between that and the Sev 1 call, but we're here. We're here. The voice of the Wolfman is here, which is the most important thing. So I figured today what we would talk a little bit about is obviously retro gaming. And, Stephen is a very avid collector of the Xbox and obviously the ColecoVision as well. But Wolfanoz is a very big guy in the retro community for actually making software that people use in their Raspberry Pis. So, Wolf, thank you for joining once again. He's a very good friend of the show.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Thank you. Appreciate you having me on tonight.
Oh, and it worked. You're on camera. So look at that.
Oh, it works. Wow.
It works once in a while. So everyone just, be patient. Kicking It Old School has got a very old man running the show on and just trying to be very cheap about it. I'm trying to spend like
you come
nothing.
from the Atari age, you are old,
It's true. I am old. And we have a lot of people here in the group saying hello. A lot of people have Chris, we have Curtis, we have Paul, we have Kal-El. We have a lot of the good guys here. So again, I'm a little flustered because it's been one heck of a week at work to begin with. And then you plan the show out, you try to make sure all these things are going to be working beforehand, and it just didn't. And I mean, it is kind of, but
hey, we're here now, right?
We are. And look, and
we're
it
here.
Worked.
It's there.
It is, and it worked.
We're live. Just
we're good. So everybody knows, Glenn busted his chops for about 30 minutes trying to get all this set up, and he's done his best. So.
Oh yeah. He gets a medal.
I get a medal because literally with like 8 seconds left, or 7 seconds, it like crashed, and then it went back on, and then it crashed again. So okay, enough.
And this is the first time too, in his defense, that we have not just Glenn and I. We have another person,
right?
That has to get into the mix of all this. So we'll get the kinks worked out.
We will. So
I know I'm a problem child. What can I say?
So the funny part is, like, when I set this up, like I assumed, I was very bad at assuming, like, everyone knows who the Wolfman is, Wolfanoz. I just made that assumption, and I told Steven, he goes, "Who's our guest tonight?" I said, "Oh, it's Wolfanoz." He goes, "Who?" So
I
Steven,
had no idea. Sorry.
So Wolfanoz, tell Steven, someone who should know who you are, who doesn't, who you are.
Well, so 6 years ago, I figured, why not use my expertise to do something I love, which is retro gaming. So instead of just playing games, I actually got more involved on the back end of, like, starting with RetroPie, basically just, taking RetroPie. And for about the first year, I started working with Mad Little Pixel. I think a lot of people know who he is. So he would have images that he would put out, but, people were like, "Oh, the controls don't work great, blah, blah, blah." Things of that nature. So I basically just said to him, I said, "Hey man, do you mind if I take one of your images and just try to spice it up a little bit for you? Like, just go on the back end and see what I can do for you on it and all that." So literally I spent probably about 4 or 5 months just taking one of his images and just defining the controls for, like, pretty much every arcade game, which was probably over 2,000 games. So literally I would spend, just my spare time, other than drinking tequila.
I need some of that tonight.
Yeah.
I knew there was alcohol involved.
Yeah. So instead of drinking tequila, I spent hours just doing that instead. And basically, I would just take that and say in my head, "Okay, do you remember the control settings for this game in the arcade?" Because I spent a lot of my time as a kid, like most of us have, in an arcade. I had an arcade within 2 blocks of my house.
That's dangerous.
So, yeah, it is. And, it looked bad enough, me carrying my mom's, pop bottles down to the store to get money for that. So, basically carried it over my shoulder to get money for that. But anyway, I just thought in my head, what is the best way to get, like, control schemes down and everything like that as best I could. And so I just translated that to XML and figured, because most of that behind the scenes is XML. So basically, just did the control settings for most of the games and then just tested it and then put it out there. But that was like my first venture into it, other than just messing with, like, graphics config files and things of that nature. So that basically right there is what everybody's like, "Wow, this actually plays like it's supposed to." And, even when arcade cabs, controllers, and I tried to make it universal. So to me, like, putting images together is like almost like making an archive or a library or a museum. Just try to make it as best you can and as playable as you can, because that's how people remember it.
And how long did that take? I mean, you're sitting there, going through this image. I mean, we're talking thousands of ROMs. How long did that take?
I literally took one of his older images, and it took about roughly almost a year. It was like 10 or 11 months.
And like,
so,
thousands
every
of
day,
hours.
I assume every day, like hours.
Yeah, I wasn't a full-time parent at that time, but I am now, because I used to see my daughter every other weekend. So basically, I would just do that in my spare time just so I wouldn't drink alcohol, just because, you can fall into that pit pretty easy. So I just basically said, I might as well do something constructive, and that's what I did. I just put my head down and did that. So that was literally, probably like 2-3 hours a day when I got home from work, just mess around doing that instead of playing games. I'd, try to set them up basically.
I mean, my hat goes off to you for just not copying and pasting.
Yeah, a lot of people like to do that, and I get it.
That's how it works out there, because a lot of these guys put out like 6,000 ROMs and games or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they just expect it all to work in one shot, and you get through it and it doesn't work. It doesn't do what it's supposed to. And
not only that, not just the controls, you got to match up which emulator works with, which ROM works with which emulator, things of that nature, because not every ROM works with, the default emulator on Raspberry
There's so
Pi.
many flavors of MAME, it's not even funny. MAME Advanced, MAME version, whatever to what, it's.
I've had people tell me, you waste too much time doing that, blah, 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 but, I enjoy doing it. I mean, it's like
Well, when it's a passion, when it's a passion thing, it's definitely fun, and it doesn't seem like you're wasting time. But eventually, it has to come to the point where, like, you know what, you feel like that your work is maybe not being respected, and then it becomes something else.
Well, then that's some of the community will just, other image creators will be like, thump their chest or whatever, and I've seen it. And, I respect those that just do their thing and they're happy with what they're doing, rather than, just try to outdo each other, the community, make it into a pissing match, basically. So it shouldn't be that way. It's just that a lot of us do this just out of enjoyment and to help others with enjoyment. I mean, I've had people, I had a guy with stage 4 cancer, which means a lot to me, thank me, just for getting him through a rough time.
That's really cool.
Stuff like that that's what keeps me going, is stuff like that. I've had people, want to donate money, and I tell them, I've had people in my family have cancer, and I tell them, just donate it to St. Jude's, because I've had nephews and cousins with cancer, and, it's like, just, if you're going to donate to St. Jude's. That's all I ask. So, some people just have different avenues of how they want to do things. That's how I do things. So
now I want to talk about something almost as important as RetroPie and all the work it did in that part of gaming. Something that's very, very important. I know you kind of agree with me a lot on this. How do you feel about the Book of Boba Fett?
There he goes, digging right to the bottom.
You want the sugar-coated version, or do you want the honest?
You got to use your words carefully, Chris.
Got to go honest. You got to go honest.
They didn't make him like they should have. They basically pussified him, is how I'm going to put it. So that's how I felt anyway watching it. And I'm like, okay, how many scenes with the back to tank are we going to have with flashbacks? Which I thought that the scenes with the band, the Tusken Raiders was cool, the stuff with that, but they didn't really make him out to be the Boba Fett we all know and love. So they just kind of they softened him.
What I thought, and I'm not sure if Steven really agreed with me on it. I think that because of the Mandalorian, like the Mandalorian is what Boba Fett should have been, but they already had the Mandalorian.
It should have been.
And that's why they brought Mandalorian in. That's why they brought Mando in.
The Book of Mando.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what it should have been called, but whatever. It's they're still working on it, and I'll ask him the next question. Obi-Wan, what do you think? Trailer? Excited? Not excited?
I'm excited, but jury's out. We'll see. I get the feeling there's going to be some things that we're all not going to like again. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of Boba Fett, but
our expectations are very high, basically, right? So
there does need to be a Qui-Gon talking to Obi-Wan, which I'm guessing at the beginning of the trailer that's who he's talking to. So we'll see, though.
I think I agree with you that it's Qui-Gon, because I don't think Qui-Gon mastered like a force projection of himself yet. I know in Rebels there was a static image, like Yoda saw him as a static image, but
his voice, I think, too.
Right,
just his voice.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, apparently Mark Hamill gave that little kid his blessing of being Luke Skywalker on Twitter.
Well, I don't think he had a choice. That's who that is. So.
Well, yeah, I know, but he was nice enough to do that. He's a gentleman and a scholar. Mark Hamill. He's a nice guy.
He is.
From what I understand, in real life, he's not an asshole, which is great. So it's good.
Yeah, we just don't like the fact they made him into a hermit who drinks blue milk right from the source.
Oh, I hated that. That hurt me right deep. That cut me deep. That one.
Well, the good thing is that he was really upset about it himself. Like he really. He's
getting paid.
Well, the thing was, he signed the contract. When they're bringing Star Wars back, he signed his contract. They're like, Luke, we're going to make you the focus of this. He gets a big paycheck. They tell him, listen, we're going to pay you millions of dollars not to actually be in Episode 7. Okay, you're not really going to be in it, but we're going to pay you for the silence because we want people to think that you're in it. He's like, okay, cool. We'll build up in 8 and 9. Little did they know what we're going to do to him. And he complained, this is not how Luke would be. This is not what he would.
They castrated him.
Exactly.
Basically.
The fact that we got this. I mean, if there's any shining side to any of that, it's the scenes that we got with him versus Kylo in the second one. So, I mean, it's that's what I thought.
We got something.
Right.
Not sure what it was, but
and Kylo Ren. I went to Disney. I was at Disney like after I guess maybe Episode 7 or 8 was out, but they took away the old Star Tours. Right, Star Tours was gone. And they redid it with, Rey and Kylo, and I was laughing. I'm not afraid of anything. I'm not afraid of Kylo. It's not like he's trying to be Vader, but he is no Vader. He's not. And he's sitting there, and he's like making these moves with his lightsaber. I'm like, man, you had a woman who had a lightsaber for 30 seconds, who lived in, whooped your ass. I'm not worried about Kylo Ren.
Yeah, I don't like to talk about the sequels. They make me upset. I like the first one, but other than that.
Well, supposedly they're gonna retcon the sequel somehow. We'll see how they're gonna do it.
I heard that.
I think they're gonna do that with Rebels. Thank God for Star Wars Rebels, because they have that
World Between Worlds.
The World Between Worlds, exactly. So it's basically, if people don't know the show, Rebels, it's an animated series on Disney, and I personally liked it because it was a few years before Episode 4. Oh no, wait a second. No. It was a few years before Episode 4. Luke was probably maybe like 16 because Leia was like around 16. She was actually in it. You also had what's his name come in? Lando Calrissian was in an episode before we started having sex with the sex bots type of thing. But in there,
only you would know that.
You would know that. I mean, they did that in Han's movie. He was basically,
he was doing this thing with the box.
Yeah, he was. So don't blame me. Blame Kathleen Kennedy, which
only
we
you
do.
Would notice that though.
He was using the USB port.
That's exactly.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Hopefully not to
I
see.
get to see Glenn with his notepad.
Hopefully not to see.
Sexual activity happening between the two.
But anyway, so in Rebels, they had this thing called the World Between Worlds. So you're using the Force, using the Father, the Mother, and the Son, which was from the Clone Wars. You can travel to this dimension where there were doorways, and each doorway was a different time. And it was cool as he's walking through it. You heard people from Episode 4, like Obi-Wan Kenobi. You heard all these different voices from these different doors.
The thing about it is the Sith can use it too. The Palpatine was using it.
Well, that's the thing. He couldn't get into it. He needed them to get in, and then he kind of found his way, and he came real close to getting it. But I think they can use something like that to basically go back in time, take Rey and put her in Mustafar's lava pit. Problem solved.
The portal opens up right over the lava pit. Yeah,
and just drop it right in.
You know what is kind of weird is the only part that I remotely enjoyed about the sequels was the last movie when Kylo Ren was talking to his dad on the ship that with all the waves and all that stuff. I thought that was really nice. But after that, it went to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah, it really did.
Crap, you guys are idiots. It was a nice touching moment, for what it was.
It made you think, though, is that his Force ghost that was talking to Kylo, or was that, it was Kylo in Kylo's head? Is it really?
I think it was actually
a nice moment.
I think it was actually Palpatine, doing like a Force projection. Yeah, I do. I mean, it kind of hinted that it was, it was Snoke, but who was controlling Snoke?
Yeah.
Palpatine. So that's my guess. And see right here, Paul.
Don't make me watch it again, Glenn, please.
There's a funny part. This is the absolute truth. I swear to God. Episodes, 4, 5, and 6, I've seen 10,000 times. No joke. I've watched it completely. Episodes 1, 2,
Makes
and
you feel good.
well, it does.
Does make you feel good.
1, 2, and 3, I didn't really care for them, so maybe I saw them a dozen and a half times. You know, if they're on, I'll watch it.
A true fact, by the way. The first movie I saw in the theater was Empire Strikes Back.
Great one to start with.
Since then, that's been my favorite movie.
Right, and you know, when I was growing up, obviously Star Wars, because that was the first one that came out, and obviously I'm old enough to have been there. I was 8 when I saw it in the theater, so that's always got my special spot. But as I've gotten older, I can really appreciate Empire a lot more. So Empire maybe edged out A New Hope a little bit just because the story was a little more fleshed out. But the point I was just trying to make
Luke
is
kisses his sister.
Well, yeah, but you know that goes back to like
sex and robots, and that's Glenn's bag right there.
Well, I just was watching.
It's not called Kicking It Old School. We should call something else.
Well, kicking the incest.
The Jetsons, did he?
We got incest here. Come on.
Well, Jen just came in here, so we were watching Game of Thrones.
The incest down to a low here.
Game of Thrones. So they were kissing everything, doing everything under the sun in that show.
Oh, they were doing. Sorry for the children listening. They were doing fucked up shit on that show.
But the point I was just trying to make is, so the original trilogy I watched wore out videotapes, and then the prequels came out. Wasn't my favorite, but I can watch them if they're on. I'll leave it on. I'll watch it. 7, 8, 9, one time each. And I didn't even want to see 9. My son really wanted to go, so I took him. One time, and he'll never put it on again. Never.
Oh, it's Kathleen Kennedy. Why would you?
Well, I mean, Kathleen Kennedy did have involvement, and I hate to admit it. Rogue One, and I can watch Rogue One. I mean, it's
Rogue One was Rogue One was good. I thought.
Yeah.
So
I thought Solo. We talked about this on the show before, but Solo was like, yeah, they answered my questions on how he met Chewie, and like it was kind of like answering the what's a parsec, that kind of thing, and you're like, yeah, thanks for. And the only ooh la la moment in that whole movie was when Maul showed up. If you guys haven't seen it at this point,
it's too late. Too bad.
6 years later, too bad I spoiled it.
Too bad. But that was actually a good Easter egg to put in there. And again, they kind of went with it because then again in the Clone Wars, he went to Mandalore. And he kind of took over that planet and had a whole trilogy in there. So it was kind of cool that they did that. But it also shows, like, I think Mace Windu is going to make a return in one of these series.
Apparently, he's been bugging them.
Well, he has.
Samuel Jackson.
He was a big fan.
Man, put me in your show.
He was a big fan.
They just cut my arm off.
Yeah, they did.
Else.
And people, Jedi can fall from those heights. You've seen them jump down. So there's really no reason other than his hand got cut. I mean, he got electrocuted, but he could have survived the fall. And I don't know if you guys go to keep forgetting his name. Is it Star Wars lore? He did an episode where Darth Vader and Palpatine were fighting each other. He's doing like a series, but I can't remember.
Isn't that Star Wars Theory?
Thank you.
Star Wars Theory.
So he already teased.
He's a Canadian fellow.
Yep. Another Canadian? You guys are taking over the world, man. You are. But
I'm close enough. I'm only like 70 miles from Canada, so.
Yeah, you are.
You're an honorary Canadian. There you go.
But they already teased the next episode in that saga, and Mace Windu was there. So Mace Windu is going after Vader. If you look up the trailer for the new one, it looks awesome, and he looks messed up. I mean, he doesn't look, it's pretty Samuel L. Jackson's face.
Missing like an eyeball.
Well, look at it this way. Somebody mentioned in the chat, Apicus, he says he means Maul survived. He got half his body cut off.
Yeah.
So he got cut in two, and
I'm on the motto, though. If you don't see a body and they're not burning it or they don't become a part of the force,
they're still going.
They're still going. Yeah.
It's like Days of Our Lives.
Not even.
There's that guy on there.
But not even, because
like a zillion times and he comes back like a Terminator.
Palpatine fell into a nuclear reactor. He fried, and he still came back.
His essence was so powerful, he got into a new body right away.
Actually, what it really was is they didn't write a story properly. That it sucked. What can we bring back? Oh, let's bring Palpatine back at the last minute. Yeah, we planned it the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, that's a ticket.
Yeah. So that's the thing, right? I think Star Wars, for me, my Star Wars story is that I wasn't allowed in the theater at 7 years old because the theater owner said that there's a burning human being scene when, Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen got fried to a crisp. They didn't let me in the theater because of that.
Really?
My mom wanted to bring me to see Star Wars. I didn't get to see Star Wars till many months later, and then Empire came out.
By the way.
What's that?
I still want those action figures of them charred in the package.
Oh yeah, I've got a.
Someone made that actually.
Well, Steve,
I
you got a
think.
huge collection of Star Wars stuff, don't you?
I do. I have a complete collection of the original 1977 ones. I got this thing.
Oh, nice.
Oh, you can't see it.
It's censoring it.
Oh, sorry.
Copyright. Copyright.
Copyright
There's
violation.
nudity on it. It's censoring it now.
Basically, it's a rocket-firing Boba Fett.
Oh, wow.
Basically, some guy in Asia somewhere made a whole bunch of them, and it's unpainted and everything. But you can actually shoot the rocket, and it's a perfect mold of it. I paid about
You'll put your eye out, toys.
Yeah, you'll choke on it and everything, so you're good. So yeah, but I have a complete all three movies Kenner action figure collection.
Oh, good.
And some regular toys and whatnot from my childhood. So
and that's funny because when I was growing up, a lot of toys had those things, right? They had the little darts you could shoot out, and it wasn't until the Battlestar Galactica, Cylon Raiders, and the Colonial Viper came out that a child, he was like 3 years old, choked on it, and that's what caused that whole thing with them being recalled and taking them away.
One kid.
That's what it was. It was one kid choked on it.
One kid that pointed a gun at a police officer, and they put orange caps on guns, toy guns.
Right.
So I don't know about that myth, but that's supposedly what happened. So.
Well, I
the
get
80s was such a dark time.
Live and learn.
Such a dark time. So, but anyways, what else are we going to ask our good friend Wolf here?
Talk a little bit about it. So I know you don't know too much about him. He does these images. I guess my biggest thing is with doing all the work you've done on, the Raspberry Pi. What is your favorite machine to use to emulate it? Is it a Raspberry Pi? Would you rather use a PC? What do you feel is better?
I find a challenge in using the Pi because PC runs mostly everything. That's just a fact. But I find more of a challenge in trying to get things to run the best they can on a small SBC. I mean, you could say, okay, well, I have a PC, and that's fine. You can have fun with it. But I find challenges, and a lot of people want to take game systems with them, and they don't want to lug a big PC with them, or maybe they don't have a laptop, or whatever the case may be. They don't want to, so I've taken mine on trips. I mean, I put my stuff on it and taken it on trips and had a blast, especially when you're on training and for the whole week, and, you're going brain dead alone from that. So, but I mean, I think, that my preference is playing with smaller boards, but yes, I do play on PC too. I mean, because obviously there's CD media games that you can't play on a Pi yet, like past the Dreamcast.
I'm still amazed that you can, because the Dreamcast graphically is, it was a pretty powerful machine. I know it's still 23 years old now. My God.
Right.
But
and the big problem with the only CD media that really doesn't run full frame rate on that right now is Saturn. And a lot of that I think has to do with the emulation versus the encryption that the Saturn had.
Right.
So I think that they're still trying to perfect that, at least on a SBC level. But I mean, it runs full frame rate on PC too. So Dreamcast, which is obviously the successor, runs full frame rate, mostly full frame rate on the Pi. So that tells me it's an emulation problem that and I've looked into the config files and that for everything, and I've tried to tweak things, and it's still roughly about the same. I mean, so I got to figure it has something to do with the emulation versus the encryption process that whole thing went through that they tried to crack. So,
from what I understand, that thing has multiple CPUs, multiple GPUs, and everything. Like, it's a real nitmare.
3 sets.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Oh, the Saturn.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Saturn.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's a nightmare.
Well, you know why? It was designed to be a 2D powerhouse, and it was very good for 2D games. But then they heard, rumblings about this PlayStation and doing some 3D. So they went back and said, well, you got to make this thing 3D. So I said, okay. Instead of redesigning it, they just slapped on more chips. They had 2 processors on there, 2 Tachi CPUs were on there, then VDPs and DSPs and RAM, and the thing was incredibly expensive to produce. They must have lost a lot of money in making that thing. And then
I think that did them in.
Well, what did them in was then they rushed it to market. They had a launch date, and then they heard PlayStation.
What really killed them though is they put out the 32X almost right alongside that thing.
Right.
And it's like, oh, I want the 32X. And then parents are like, I'm not buying the Saturn along with the 32X. It's not happening. You have a Genesis. That's basically what happened back then.
And Sega of America did not want the 32X at all. They knew it was basically a waste and no one really wanted it.
Right.
I do think, though, if they had made it as the Neptune, which was the 32X standalone console, it might have done better in certain markets. Maybe not here in the States, but it would have been more inexpensive than the Saturn would have been for markets that couldn't afford it. And it might have done well because the Sega Genesis had a big library, it had a big following, so it could have probably gone well. It just wasn't done right, and it looked horrible. I mean, you think people talk about this, the Atari Jaguar looking like a toilet. You put a Generation 1 Sega CD, a Gen 1 Sega Genesis, a 32X on it. Think like that, and then the cartridges going up. Like Sonic and Knuckles. It looked horrible, and the wires behind it were, 3 power supplies, 10 cables. It just was a mess.
Well, that's why they, when they brought Bernie Stoller on board, they're like, yeah, let's just do the Dreamcast. Let's just move on to the next one. Because it was, basically, and it showed because, I mean, it's sad because the Saturn had a lot of potential too, but they just didn't give it, there was the whole time between the 32X and the Dreamcast that just didn't give it enough time.
Right.
So, weren't they supposed to do, weren't they rushed that machine out because the PS1 was coming out?
The Saturn, yes.
They just pushed it right out the door.
Yes.
Yeah.
And apparently the developers had no idea how to program for the damn thing.
There were 2 things. They didn't give a very good dev kit for it. That was the first thing because it was rushed out. And then they had...
The sound chipset on the Saturn was better than the PlayStation as well, from my understanding.
Yeah, it had a lot more sound channels. Yeah, again, when you look, though, back, the PlayStation 1 was awesome. I mean, when I saw Tekken, I was like, it was instant buy. I saw that. Or Battle Arena Toshinden as well. It was like instant buy.
Yep.
Destructor Derby, instant buy, though controls were horrible on it, but I still love the game. But when you look how the game's aged, I think the Saturn's graphics may have aged a little bit better, even though sometimes there's a lot of drop frames or the drawing rate is bad, mostly because, again, of the programming was very not as good as it could have been because Sony gave a better development kit. But I just think graphically they aged better. When I see a PS1 game, I mean, it just looks aged by today's standards.
Hey, by the way, everybody in the chat's talking about House of the Dead and Sega losing the code or something.
That's a true story.
Well, tell us. Let's hear it.
I think someone actually brought from my, I'm going to loosely, I haven't read the story in a while, but I think actually somebody either took the source code home or something to that effect, and basically they lost the original code for it, so they had to
redo it.
Yeah, they pretty much had to piece the whole thing back together.
Wow, what an epic fail.
I'll tell you, the House of the Dead, when I first played that, I actually had it on the PC. It's a great game, the first House of the Dead.
Oh, yeah, it's awesome.
Yep, and I love actually playing it on my Wii because they got the Wii remote.
Playing it in the arcade when it came out.
Never played it, believe it or not, in the arcade.
There's an Xbox version too, isn't there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Xbox light gun version, yeah. It's one of those things that these companies, how do you lose this stuff?
I know, it's crazy.
Should be on a CD at least, or 5
A lot of people
CDs.
don't know it, but you might want to dig for it if you have a copy. But Tiger Woods 99 for the PC way back when had the pilot episode of South Park on the disc, and they had to remake the disc because someone left the pilot episode on the disc.
Are you serious?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, there's so basically, the Jesus versus Santa episode's on that disc if you have it, so it's a collector's item.
That's hysterical.
Wow.
Yep. So someone got called out on the carpet for that. I'm pretty sure. So.
That was a great episode, though. So.
Well, they liked it so much that they put it on a bazillion discs.
So
that's sad.
So, how would they discover that? Someone just had to put it in their computer and it just saw a video file and they clicked on it?
Yeah, you just put the CD in and just do a file explorer and take a look, and the AVI for it's right in the main root directory.
Is it really in the root?
Yeah. Right in the root directory. I almost died when I saw it, and I showed my father. I go, look at this.
You know what?
He goes, what?
That couldn't have been by accident. That was totally done on purpose.
They had to remake the discs, though, from my understanding. They had to make another master.
Let's make South Park popular.
I can just imagine them saying, please send your disc in, we'll replace it. No one would send their disc in. No one.
I didn't. I still have mine in a box somewhere.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, did you only bought the game because you heard about it?
No, I used to play Tiger. I used to play golf games, so Tiger Woods came out. I was like, hell yeah, I'm in. So I found out about it, and I'm like, no way. Sure enough, I put it in. We'll pop open File Explorer. Look, the AVI is sitting right there in the root directory.
And it's properly named South Park, whatever.
Yeah, it was like pilot episode or something like that. Yeah,
that's funny.
Almost 25 years ago.
So talking to Steven and Wolfanoz, you guys are about the same age. So when you guys were growing up, what was your favorite TV shows you guys were watching when you were growing up? I know mine were stick figures because it was just a puppet show because TVs didn't work when I was young.
Are you talking like late 70s, 80s?
Yeah, when you were young. Like, what's your first TV show that you like? Like for me, my first memories of a good show was like Planet of the Apes, the TV series.
Yeah.
I remember that show. So what about you guys?
I'm gonna start at cartoons. The first lunchbox I ever had because I love the show was Battle of the Planets.
Great show.
So, yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yep, that was my first.
I didn't have a lunchbox, but I watched that show religiously after school.
Yeah, I have the DVD set now finally, but
Bunch 'em on.
Yep. What you call it? Land of the Lost. I used to watch when I came home from school. I think it was on.
That was Sigmund and Croft. Sigmund and Croft.
Yep. The Slee Stacks.
Slee Stacks. Yep. Jocko.
Yep. It was basically a rip-off of the Gorn without the teeth.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what they were. A rip-off of the Gorn without the teeth. What else? Oh, the Incredible Hulk. I think,
the Lou Ferrigno one there.
Yep. Bill Bixby, Lou Ferrigno.
Yep.
Man, Battlestar Galactica.
Ah, there we go.
Yep.
Frack.
Man, I could go on. Yeah. Buck Rogers,
Buck Rogers is one of those that didn't age well for me. I mean, the girls still look good, but I can still watch Battlestar Galactica, Star Trek. Buck Rogers is a little painful at times to watch.
Greatest American
Hero.
There's
a lot of that out there.
Greatest American Hero, there's a good one. Great theme song. Still sing it to this day.
Yeah. Joey Scarsbury.
Yep.
Is the singer of that song.
Oh, is it? I was like, who?
Yeah. I saw the blank look on his face like,
what?
Yeah. I remember buying the single at the record store and telling the woman this singer's name and everything, and she was looking at me, same stare. What?
Did you make an answering machine call like Dirk Costanza did, or?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's I don't know, what was mine? Battle of the Planets was a big one. Cartoon-wise, Inspector Gadget.
Oh yeah.
The Mighty Hercules. There was a lot more.
No one remembers Thundar the Barbarian.
Thundar.
The Super Friends guys, come on.
Well, Super Friends, yeah, that's still on, isn't it? I mean, that's never really gone away. But again,
that's where the meme comes with all the
Meanwhile-
Spider-Man.
yeah, but now, again, look at those now, and it's like, oh my God, I watched this as a kid and I thought it was good. Like, right. Meanwhile, back at the Batcave, Robin is kneeling down in front of Batman. It's just like, what?
What are you
Superman's
talking
having peanut butter and jelly.
What does Superman do when he runs out of jelly? He flies to the supermarket. But yeah, that was a good one. But I mean, Thunder the Barbarian, Dungeons and Dragons.
Didn't get that up where I lived.
Really?
Dungeons and Dragons.
We had 4 or 5 channels, and who gave a crap what was on the other ones, I guess.
They're coming back because my daughter bought a thing of the Nerds gummies, which are like gummies covered in Nerds candy.
Right.
And they had Dungeons and Dragons on there with the little like plushy looking character on it there. The little character they had on the show, Glenn. I forgot the name of the character, but
the unicorn,
little furball looking thing.
Yeah, for Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah,
it was a unicorn called Uni.
That might have been it, maybe. But
only you would know that, Glenn.
You guys should watch it. It's actually, see, what was good about those shows? That was before the U.S. government got involved saying you got to make them educational. That's when they could have made anything that they wanted. And Dungeons and Dragons is actually pretty dark. These kids are stuck in this world. These monsters are there. There's a guy named Venger who was basically Darth Vader.
He was a nice guy.
But it was kind of dark. There was one episode which you never would see this today. The kids finally had enough. Like, they almost get home a couple of times, and Venger always ruins it. They were right there. And again, Venger just got their way home, and they're like, you know what? We're done. We're going to kill this guy. Like you're like, what? We're going to go to Avenger and we're going to get him. We're doing him in. And so they go. That was the whole show, and it was very dark. And I'm not going to spoil it because I want you guys to see it, but it was dark, especially for a kids show Saturday morning.
I haven't watched it since I was little. I don't remember a lot of it, but
as a kid, I was scared of the guy from Battle of the Planets with lipstick on. The dude
It was a
had
woman,
lipstick in him. Oh, probably.
It was a woman.
What was it? Zoltar?
Zoltar was a chick. Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, it was a chick.
No, if it was, hey, when I was, 10?
Yeah, but Bugs Bunny was the first crossdresser, though, so...
You know what? You don't see those, like, there were so many, again, they're definitely not politically correct episodes, but they had a lot of really good ones you don't see anymore. I mean, they had ones...
Oh, Bugs Bunny was full of that stuff,
I mean, even Disney had them, too. You know, Mickey Mouse, with the Nazis, and, Daffy Duck and Donald Duck, both against the Nazis. But, Bugs Bunny definitely was a little more so with the politically incorrect with, World War II and,
there's a lot of episodes that cut out of Looney Tunes because they just had a lot of, as time went on.
Roadrunner and Coyote is not even the same anymore.
No.
That's how bad it was. Like, Yosemite Sam has lost his charm.
Oh, he's gone. They can't even show him anymore.
He's so politically incorrect now,
gone.
It's not even funny. They canceled his ass.
Pepe Le Pew's gone. Speedy Gonzalez is gone.
I mean, Speedy Gonzalez, I guess to a point I can kind of see that. But what was wrong with Pepe? He was just trying to find love.
It's the same thing when you think about
it. Is that what you call it?
French mockery and Mexican mockery. So they just got rid of them both. They were like, okay, yeah, everybody's making fun of everybody. Yeah. Bye, outdoor.
They were pretty much the South Park for their time, if you think about it.
They were. They were. I mean, it's like the Mel Brooks movies. They're some. Actually, I turned one off. I mean, I loved Blazing Saddles, and I remembered it.
Oh, that doesn't even fly nowadays.
No, but here's the thing. I love that movie. My brother was like that movie. My son, we want to watch Blazing Saddles. We put it on.
That wouldn't be made now.
You would put it on, and they started saying some things. I'm like, Cole's just like, Dad. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, we're turning it off. But
I was 2021, Glenn, or 2022. You can't put that shit on TV anymore.
The Beans scene to me, when I was a kid,
all of it's great.
I couldn't breathe.
I was not our children.
Well, it's like earlier, Glenn and I were talking about Meatballs because it's like that's a movie, Bill Murray, that a lot of people don't even know about or they haven't seen it because of the H factor.
Great movie.
Meatballs is a great movie.
Well, Animal House was wrong too.
Yeah, but Meatballs,
the list is
just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Come on. It just the military doesn't matter.
No, it's the kids at camp.
Oh, no, Stripes was the military one.
So you got to see Meatballs now, Steve. That's your homework for next week. You got to watch Meatballs.
Yeah, I'll grab them and.
But it's just
get them on the internet.
It's kind of sad.
King of sexual awareness.
It's kind of sad. I mean, I do understand. They're making fun of other people, but that's kind of what life is. People make fun of me. I mean, look at me. I'm an old man. I'm gray. I can't barely speak half the time. It's in jest. It's in jest. People can't be so sensitive. I mean, there are obviously things that are still taboo, right? They're always going to be. But
yeah, Glenn sits on an Atari joystick for fun. He just doesn't admit it, So
well, it's 8 ways of fun.
It's
8 ways of fun. So why wouldn't you? You can't do that. You couldn't do that with television, could you? No.
You sit and rotate on
the 5200 would be better, actually, because the joystick was already broke. So it wouldn't really matter at that point.
It was broke right out of the box? Is that what you're saying?
5200 joysticks, I mean, the machine was good. The joystick is... I can't defend it. I mean, I'm part of the 5200 podcast, but I admit...
Yeah, I was going to say, you're like an Atari fanboy, and here you're talking smack about it. You're going to get booted out of that society.
Coleco perfected the Intellivision, if you think about
it. They did. You took a talk ColecoVision. Go right ahead. That's right up Steven's alley.
I'm just saying.
I hate that controller. I don't care who knows it.
You still hate it?
What's that?
You still hate the Coleco controller?
I hate the Coleco controller.
Well, would you rather have that or the Intellivision controller? That's the question.
Right.
Well, it's the same shit, different pile. That's all it is. It's what it is, really, in the end. The Intellivision, that disc, I have a hard time with that.
You got carpal tunnel from both, but it was just easier with the...
Like they're just two bad controllers. I'm trying to understand the logic of that era where they needed to put a phone pad to dial home on a controller because they didn't look very far from the telephone to the controller.
I wonder how far they
just
were
like-
from putting an actual speaker in the controller for you to dial somebody, like on another system. I wonder if they planned on that at some point.
They must have.
I disagree. I do think that the numeric keypad was a good idea with the overlays because it's supposed to have overlays, you know. But like in television, the big failure point obviously was the disc. The disc was, even though it's 16 directions, it was 16 directions of crap. And the side buttons were so tiny, like 5200, they were mush. You couldn't press them in.
Yeah.
Now
they didn't really take the time to do ergonomic testing.
And it
5200 stick broke, or the controller broke a lot too.
It did.
I remember that.
It broke. But the thing is, the sad part about that is that was all, once again, the executive staff, because the engineering team said this is not what we want. This was just to test it, just to try. It's got to be a self-centering. We get all these different things in there, better boards. Atari's like, nah, it'll be fine, and that's what killed that machine. The controller.
You know what disappointed me more than anything with that console? After watching the movie Cloak and Dagger, when they showed the cartridge in that movie, and you wanted that cartridge so bad. Because that was towards the tail end of the 5200, basically, is when that movie came out. And then you saw that cartridge, and the cartridge never came out for the console. Yep. It's like, you son of a bitches. You know, it's the one game I wanted after seeing that movie.
Hey, you have Elliot. Elliot's in the movie. How could you not like the movie? Cloak and Dagger with Elliot.
Right.
That was his last movie, wasn't it?
I think it was.
There probably wasn't much else.
He's done
as a kid.
Yeah, as a kid. Probably as a kid. He's done some things fairly recently, as a matter of fact. Some haunting house, something like that.
Now I need to be clear because the chat is kind of questioning my Coleco loyalty here. Is the console is amazing? The controllers are terrible.
I disagree a little bit.
The technology in the Coleco is amazing.
Coleco did have the best arcade ports for the time.
Yeah, that's right.
Really
like you could crank out like the stuff, the homebrews that are being put out today. They're mind blowing. To be honest with you, like there's a Pac-Man collection on there. If I would have had that Pac-Man collection in 1980, whenever.
Yeah, there's a Pac-Man 4K, or what is it?
8K.
Now. Someone made an 8
on the 2600.
Yep, it's excellent.
If we would have had that, it would have been a whole new ball game for the 2600.
It would have been. And Donkey Kong VCS also. I don't know if you've seen that.
Right. Yeah,
I mean, you cannot believe the 2600 is outputting this kind of graphics and even sound. But
it's amazing.
Yeah, someone mentioned Cloak and Dagger in the chat. The arcade, I put most of that. Any image I made, I put that game on.
Oh, is that your Easter egg?
Yeah, pretty much. Because you got to have that on there. It's like a better Robotron. That's the only way I can put it. It's literally, I mean, you literally like look for the objective, like secret package in a level. Then you got to set the fuse off in the middle of the map, and then you got to get out before the fuse goes off, before the bomb goes off in the level. So it's a great game. I mean, a lot of people don't know about it, and they don't realize it's an actual game that they made. I think it was like for a conversion kit for like Indiana Jones or something, maybe. But I think
interesting.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, but it's
good question.
It's one of my
good question. The Amico. What's your thoughts on that, man?
Oh God, let's put more gas in that fire.
Yeah, that's started a lot of pissing matches lately.
I never pre-ordered personally. I didn't. You know what? I don't know if you know this, Wolf, but I was part of a particular conspiracy console, and I've been.
See if you can guess it, Wolf. Got to guess it.
The Coleco remake.
I will
Coleco Chameleon
deny or whatever. I will never admit to that nowadays.
Hey, it's honorable.
Yet I wore a T-shirt on the air. What's that? Sorry.
Hey, it's honorable. At least you tried.
You know what? I said this story many times in the new people. I went there to try to be part of the gaming industry and work in it, and this was getting in at ground zero. But when I saw the bullshit, I ran away, and I was like, I walked away with a Coleco Chameleon T-shirt and a few memorabilias from the era. But yeah, and it was just, I was disappointed in the entire thing.
It's a shame that you have a company that recreated the VCS, and that's out there, but you're not going to have an Amico. You're not going to have that. It's because there's so much strife and too many hands in the cookie jar in some cases too. So
this was a shit show, but my once bitten, twice shy with the Amico, to get back on the Amico track, is that I went, you know what? Until I see this thing in someone's hands, I don't want it. Or at least I'm not putting money down on it or
Right.
anything. Until I see it in somebody's hands that it's legit, forget it.
Yeah, Curtis is right, by the way. The game was originally Agent X. I knew that.
Yeah, that's a chat a second ago. Yeah, right there.
Yeah, they converted it to Cloak and Dagger for the movie because they had that kind of theme to it. And, Dabney Coleman played that character, with the I forgot his name all of a sudden. Got memory loss, but basically he had the trench coat and the hat like the character in the game itself.
That wasn't me in the trench coat? Okay. Good.
No.
I wasn't caught then.
Not
You
watches.
got kids, Wolf?
Yeah, I have a daughter. She's a
how
teenager.
old we're talking here? So that the reason I'm asking is that trying to get my children to watch any of Cloak and Dagger or 80s movies is like pulling
good luck
teeth.
with that. Yeah, good luck with that. Nope.
I think they watched Breakfast Club with us one time.
Yeah, there's some movies, 80s movies my daughter has watched with me that she liked, like War Games.
Stephen, I have the answer for you. You can clean the bathroom, or you can watch Cloak and Dagger.
Watch a movie.
Wow, they clean that bathroom so fast.
Oh, we got a super chat, everyone. Stephen, we got our super chat.
Awesome.
Can you see it?
So programmers, the limits on the question.
I'll read it. All right. Off topic.
The TI-99.
Off topic.
Wow,
So programmers have rarely pushed the limits of old consoles and computers. Have you seen Dragon's Lair for the TI-994A? Wow. I did, and I have it. However, I have a console that they did it on that's 10 times more impressive, and that was in the Timex Sinclair 1000 playing Dragon's Lair.
Like we're talking the full motion video we're talking about.
The TI
here.
what impressed me about the TI version was the graphics was good. It was really good. But the audio quality, I never thought the TI could output that. Now, the Timex Sinclair 1000 was just black and white, 16 grayscale. That's it. No sound. And they had Dragon's Lair. If you look up my friend Vectrex Rowley, he actually has it. It's running off an SD card, off a Timex Sinclair 1000. That thing's, when you press the key, the whole screen would go blank, and it would press the next letter on there.
It was a membrane, not a membrane, but like a...
Almost
like the touchpads on the Colecos and the televisions there. That
people have first of all, thank you, Hobby Hands, for the super chat. Really appreciate it. So these old consoles, the programmers back then were getting paid. No, they wouldn't be treated the best. That's what they came out with. When you have hobbyists nowadays like Wolfanoz and other people like him actually creating these things, it's love being put into there and a lot more time. And you really push the limits of these consoles. Like, again, Dragon's Lair and the TI-994A. Actually, I even saw a tech demo called, Don't Do This from Texas or something along those lines. It was doing stuff on the TI-994A I never would have thought was remotely possible. But that's what these guys do. They can really harness the power. But I do recommend going to Vectrex Rowley and looking at Dragon's Lair on the Sinclair.
Version floating around in the ether out there on a Pi level basically had a randomized version of the game. Like, it would just go to randomized scenes. Like, you'd go through the drawbridge. It wouldn't even go through the drawbridge with the serpents there. It would just go right in through the gate.
Oh, yeah.
And then you get a random level. So I basically had to set up, like, with an older, like, it's more of the standard ROM to set it up to be able to run just your standard playthrough of the original game, like, as we know it. Because a lot of people complain, oh, it's not the original game. It's not playing through the levels. And
well, the arcade machine played random scenes all the time. Only Dragon's Lair 2 followed an actual story.
Right.
It's like, okay. And then you go back and they fixed it.
And speaking of that, with New Wave Toys, they're going to be releasing another Space Ace. They're going to offer an optional secondary monitor you can put on top, like the arcade used to do. And you have that TV set sitting on top so people could see it.
Yeah.
So, again, that's still going. If anyone wants to get a New Wave Toys like Space Ace, I forgot what they called it. It's spectator screen. They're going to offer a spectator screen that you can purchase. It clips into the back, and you'll see it on the top. And I'm dying for. I mean, I suck at those games anyway, but I still want it.
Yeah, I do too.
Cliffhanger is my favorite one of the whole bunch.
No, Wolfanoz, you know Cliffhanger? Have you played that one?
Super Don Quixote?
Super Don Quixote was good too. So it was good. Yeah, I like that one. I prefer not Dragon's Lair, but Cliffhanger. Super Don Quixote's up there in my top 5.
Road Avenger is a good one. I played, obviously the Sega CD put a version of that out. But I did play that in the arcade somewhere once. I can't remember where, but the Road Adventure is really good. Also known as Road Blaster, I think.
Road Blaster, yes, I do remember that. Some guy made a rock and roll version of the theme song for that. It's
that's cool.
It's out there. It's actually really good.
Yep, Cobra Command's another.
Cobra Command, that one I played.
Cobra Command's good too. Yeah, apparently it's the same hardware as Cliffhanger.
It is.
Yeah, so it's I want to get one of those cabinets one day.
Those laser discs, man, they're not going to be working. You have to put
probably not
those things.
I've got the laser disc. It's the player that'll be the
right.
problem.
The player is the problem. That's what I meant to say. Those players were.
I'll put a Pi in there and just run it off of that. It runs flawless on a Pi, anyways.
It actually does.
And it's a shame that even the Atari 7800 was going to get a laser disc, interface. It would have been kind of cool because these consoles back then really would have taken advantage of, Dragon's Lair, Space Ace, those type of games for home, because it would literally be arcade perfect. I mean, it would be.
Well, Nintendo was working on a Super Nintendo add-on with Sony to make CD games.
Yes, and we got the PlayStation out of the deal.
Yep, and I have that on my image with some of those games because someone actually found some. But there's a whole community of that now where they can add all sorts of like soundtracks and full motion videos and all sorts of stuff to old games. So literally, you can have like Chrono Trigger, for example, and have a whole orchestral type of thing going on instead of the standard music that came out of it.
I've seen those. Some guy did one for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles too.
Yeah, rock. It's like a rock,
soundtrack. Yeah. And I don't remember where they got it from. It's some CD that got released a while back, and they put all that in there. I've seen that. I didn't believe it till I saw it. I was like,
real quick, I just want to answer this question. I'm being asked if that spectator screen is only for Space Ace. I believe so. I'll reach out to New Wave Toys, but they only showed it with the Space Ace. So I don't know if the Dragon's Lair have it. It would be Dragon's Lair. I'd buy two of them, put one in each.
Yep.
I wonder if they're going to have the restored version
of the game
because Digital Leisure, which is a Canadian company that owns the console rights to Dragon's Lair. I don't know if it's an infinite license or anything, but they restored. They paid for the restoration of that entire disc, and they re-released it on Blu-ray and all that stuff, so you can play with your Blu-ray player.
I remember even a DVD player. You had a nice DVD player. You could have played Dragon's Lair on it.
I have those discs from them at that time.
They sent them to you, didn't they?
And they wrote on the front, they said Xbox compatible. They had a star burst on it and stuff. And I still got those discs. I had Space Ace, Dragon's Lair 2.
Well, the Xbox is so big you could probably fit an original Laserdisc in that thing.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah. Oh, yeah. It's right there.
Did you see the size of those original Laserdisc players that make the Xbox original look like a thimble?
Enormous.
I still have my copy of Raiders of the Lost Ark on a Laserdisc I had from a family member that gave it to me.
I only have one. I have T2. That was it. Terminator 2 Judgment Day. That's the only.
I have Blue Thunder.
Oh, that's a great movie. I love Blue Thunder.
Such a good movie.
Yep.
Such a good. I saw that at the drive-in.
Love that movie.
Came out.
Just because you could see through walls and everything with it.
Whisper mode was the thing that freaked me out the most. I was like, "Oh, you can't hear it coming."
And what's funny is, Airwolf as a TV show did 1,000 times better than Blue Thunder, even though Blue Thunder, the TV series and the movie, was really based on real technology of the time. It was actually real tech available, where Airwolf was like, Kit and in the air, Knight Rider in the air.
You had the movie, and then you had the TV show.
Right, the movie came out first, which was good. I love the movie. Was it Roy Schreider? He was in that.
Yeah, Dana Carvey was on the TV show.
And there was a football player, I think, also in Bubba Smith. There you go. Yep. And it lasted not even a full season, unfortunately.
We need to get Chris on here more often because, or Wolf, sorry. Basically, we're running out of time, aren't we?
We are. What's cool about this? Before you knew nothing about who's this guy. But now you want him on again. Before it was like, who's this clown you're bringing on the show? I don't know who this guy is. He's a nobody now.
He's not I didn't say no. Don't put words in my mouth, man. I'll drive down to Newark and slap you. No, it's more like I didn't know who he was. I was like, it'd be kind of cool if he had a blog or a YouTube channel.
I used to have a Discord and a YouTube channel, but I had a lot of people asking where to get things, and I really can't. I don't want to give that out.
I wanted to do my cyber stalking homework. That's all. Go read up on him a little bit and at least get to know him a little bit. But it was great having you on, Wolf, for sure.
I appreciate it. It's nice being here.
And I want to thank you for your contribution to the RetroPie community, first off. Now, I had never heard of you. I'll go grab some of your images for sure. I'll keep an eye out for the name.
You want to get the current one, which is the 12K 128 gold. I think it's what it's officially named. I named it, but
well, I'll add you on Facebook /Skype /something, and then I can get in touch.
Yep.
And I want to thank Wolf for coming on, obviously, as well, and I want to thank everyone in the chat. We didn't interact too much with the chat today because we were kind of engaging with Wolfanoz, but we'll try and get a little bit better next time. And again, this show, we made it. I mean, literally, nothing was working right up until like 5 seconds.
By the seat of their freaking pants.
But we do appreciate all you guys, spending your Friday nights with us. We do. Wolf, thanks for coming on as well. The Super Game Room Dudes have probably already started their show, so make sure you hop over to the Super Game Room Dudes. They put in a very, very good show. They put actually some money into their production, unlike what we do here. So, guys,
we're kind of low on the cash.
We're a little low on the cash, but we'll get there.
Hey,
we'll get there.
It's great for what it is. That's all you need.
That's exactly it.
It's content is king. We talk about the good stuff.
So we'll let Wolfanoz make the last statement. What do you want to say, Wolf?
Well, I appreciate everybody's kind words, and just keep supporting Glenn and the gang here, and hopefully we'll be back some point. But anyway, I hope you all have a great weekend, and obviously, game on.
That's it. Game on, everybody.
He was looking for the magic words. Game on.
Have a great, safe weekend, everyone, and we'll see you next week on Kicking It Old School.